Baby, you're a stitch man. Baby, you're a stitch man. Baby, you're a stitch man. Duh. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Good morning, Flosstube. Wait, it's not morning. It's not morning at all. We're getting pretty late into the evening right now. Normally, I would have had this video all done and edited and uploaded and you'd be watching it by now. But guess what I did today? I did something that only a Stitch man could do. I filmed this entire video. I had it all done. It went smoothly. I got it onto my laptop and I started editing it. And at that point, I noticed that I had filmed the entire thing with a nice, big, clear as day booger hanging out of my nose from beginning to end. It was there the entire time. And I half considered just going with it. Like maybe now that I see it, maybe I'm the only one that sees it. I called Melissa and Ethan over and I said, do you notice anything about this? Do you see this? And they just burst into hysterics. So it was noticeable. Even at that point, I still consider just like, what, fuck it, whatever, who cares? Like, it's not like I care about making a fool of myself or giving somebody a laugh, but like, I don't know. Like the bigger the screen, the bigger the booger is going to be. If you're watching me on TV, like there were a couple of moments where I was talking about some serious or heartfelt things and like, imagine trying to be serious with a booger hanging out of your nose. It just doesn't. It was too. I just couldn't. I tried to justify leaving it and not refilming it, but I couldn't. So here we are. We're starting all the way over from the beginning. I'm refilming the whole thing. Some of my moments of spontaneity, or a lot of things that happen just as I'm sitting in front of the camera. Those things are going to be lost. But whatever. We'll create some new ones. We'll have some new moments of spontaneity, right? Like we can do this again. We don't have to be sad that we lost it. We can be happy that we can do it again and create some new moments. Chris it up. Speaking of Chris it up, you guys have been so awesome with the Chris it up hashtag, and like every time a new Chris it up thing pops up on Instagram, I get all warm and fuzzy inside, and it makes me feel so happy. Like, look at that, somebody else Chris'd it up today. It's so awesome. And the little bookmark chart that I made last time, which so many of you asked me for and stitched up already, and like way more people than it wasn't hundreds, but it was way more people than I expected. That was really cool, and like it's just been really awesome. And like and I know better than anybody that Chrising it up is not always easy. It's not I'm not happy-go-lucky like I might sometimes seem in my videos as fun-loving. Hey, look at this Stitch man! It must be so much fun living with him. No, it's not always that much fun. I can be quite grumpy and quite grouchy and quite negative a lot of the times, and I'm trying really hard not to. And it's usually about the stupidest things too. Like if something really serious or something that could genuinely cause anger comes up, I'm usually pretty good at handling that stuff. But heaven forbid I wake up in the morning and it's cold and there's frost on my car or something like that. You would think that no greater tragedy has ever befallen a human being on this planet than that frost that I have to wait to defrost on my car. It's just like grumble, 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 bitch, complain. So Chrising it up, like to remind myself to do that, or often it's Melissa that's reminding me, that doesn't sound like Chrising it up. Like it might not snap me out of it instantly, but it has actually helped me, put things in perspective. Like things are not as bad as they seem, and there's still a lot of good and a lot of happiness. Okay, it's Canada and it's February. There's frost on my car. It's still a good day. So the first time through this, when I talked about what I'm about to talk about, what I remember saying was I'm going to get the self-indulgence stuff out of the way first before I talk about the other stuff. But it's occurring to me now that like, is there anything about this channel or these videos that is not self-indulgent? Like, can you what is it about what I'm doing that's not what am I when I'm going to get the self-indulgent stuff out of the way? What am I going to be left with? Can you imagine if I took everything out of these videos that is self-indulgent? What would I be left with? That's one of my favorite things, by the way, to cut away to the end in the middle of us in mid-sentence in one of my videos. I don't know why. It tickles me every time I do that. I wanted to give you a quick little update about the stuff I mentioned last time about I'm starting to design my own patterns. Which, first of all, before I say anything, I know everybody always says that everybody in this community is the nicest and so supportive and everybody's so great and blah 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 blah. You've heard it a million times before, but you really are and I mean, over the top because you have to be so great and so kind and so supportive about everything. Can there be a little bit of negativity and cynicism sometimes? I guess not. I mean, I guess that's a good thing, but I mean, my goodness, the amount of I mentioned that and the positive comments and the supportive comments that I got from people and the advice and the donations and I've already got people who have volunteered to be model stitchers to stitch my stuff for me when it's ready. And my goodness, you haven't even seen anything yet. What if, okay, here, I've got some stuff. You want to stitch some stuff for me? What if you hate it? What if it's awful? Oh my goodness, maybe we should have waited a little bit before we committed to this. How are we going to get out of this now? I don't know. You don't have to commit to that just yet if you don't want. Thank you very much though. I appreciate everyone and everything. It's been, you're all just so amazing. I did want to make clear though that this whole venture is not something that I just came up with on a whim during my last video. I'm just yeah, well, look at me. I'll consider myself a designer now. I'm just going to jump in and just start doing it like some idiot. I mean, I am doing that like some idiot, but it's been a long time coming. I've been thinking about it for a really long time. And I started thinking about it and doing it more seriously many, many months ago. Getting advice from people and buying the software and, going through all the learning and the tutorials and playing with the patterns and all the things. I've been doing it for months and months and months. So by the time that I get to the point of here's my first thing that I'm actually willing to show you, look, it's my first one. There's been a lot leading up to that of, failed attempts and garbage and half-finished things and things that got deleted and things that I almost threw my laptop out the window and this isn't working and this isn't working and I'm getting frustrated and there's a lot leading up to that first one. So, that's what's been going on. So that's kind of the point that we're at now, where next time, by the time I sit here in my next video, even if that's only 2 weeks from now, I think I'm at the point where I've got at least one that I'm willing to show people and actually stitch. I'm gonna start stitching it, and I'm gonna see if it looks as good as I hope that it looks. So the next time I sit here, I'm gonna be holding up, a stitching right here. Look, there's nothing here yet, but there will be next time. A Stitchman designed, stitched up Stitchman thing. Right here. Look at it. Isn't it pretty? Isn't that exciting? First one of many, let's hope. So stay tuned for that. Something to look forward to. It's this close. And it will be here next time. So on that note too, and this is where it gets a little bit awkward for me, but I just want to mention, just for the sake of mentioning, for no other reason, I'm just mentioning it, that I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link set up below, which some of you have actually already noticed and generously donated to, which moves me almost to tears every time somebody does that. I can't believe everybody is so nice and so generous. But I don't want to sound like some kind of hustler that's just trying to pick your pocket or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. But I just wanted you to know that if anybody ever felt compelled to do that or to toss me a coffee here and there or whatever, I wanted you to know that this is where that goes. I don't just take that and run out to the toy store and buy myself some new action figures or something like that. I'm putting it back in to the stitching stuff. I love I love these videos, and I love, you know, the stitching and the stitching designing and like all the things that I've been doing. I'm doing it because I have so much fun doing it, and I love doing it, and for no other reason. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't love it. It is a lot of work though. It's a lot of work and a lot of time. Which is fine. That's like, you know, things that are fun and worth doing are a lot of work and a lot of time. But what my point is, I'm not really sure. But I wanted you to know, if you ever did that, or for the people that have already done that, you know, I'm not just running out to buy pizza and beer or something like that. I'm taking that and I'm putting it back into this, and I'm passing it back on to you. so that's that, and it's there, and that's what it's used for, and that's what I just need to get out of this sentence right now.
Can you spare some cutter, me brothers?
So I think we're gonna just jump right into the actual stitching stuff. Last time I didn't have any notes written down, and when I was sitting with Melissa and we were watching it when it was all done, my video. It took me like, I'm gonna say 20 full minutes, maybe even longer than 20 minutes. I went on and on before I talked about or showed anything stitching related. That's what happens when I have no plan. I just ramble on. Is this even a floss tube? Where's all the stitching? It was like 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm not gonna do that this time. I'm just gonna dive right in. So let's do it. Let's dive in. Whips. One quick thing I want to say first. Let's dive in, and then let's not dive in. Let's say something first. I've been watching a lot of FLOSSTUBE lately, and maybe this has always been a thing, and it's probably a thing that I do all the time too, but for some reason I've been noticing it more and more recently, where it seems like when we get to this point in people's videos where they're showing their things, every single person starts off by saying, I didn't stitch as much as I wanted to, or I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. And I'm sure that's true. And that's true of everybody that said that. That's true of me. I could say it too. But like, the more I kept hearing that, the more I kept thinking, when would that ever not be true? Like, how much would you have to do in order to turn your camera on and say, you know what I did? I did exactly as much stitching as I wanted to do. Because for me, that would never, ever happen. I don't think I would ever get to that point. If I told you that for the last 3 weeks, I stitched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 weeks. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I didn't do anything else. I lived and breathed cross-stitching. I would still get on here and tell you that I didn't stitch as much as I wanted to stitch. If I lived to be 500 and I stitch every single day of my life between now and age 500, the epitaph on my tombstone is going to say, didn't stitch as much as I wanted to. So I don't know. It kind of feels like a little bit of like an unnecessarily negative thing to say about yourself for some reason. It was coming across to me as like, you don't need to say that every time, because it's kind of a given that we didn't stitch as much as we wanted to. But if we stitched at all, no matter how much that was, then, you know, we could just retrain our brains to think of it more positively. That like, yay, yippee, I was able to stitch in the last 2 weeks, and look how much I got done. You know what I mean? Make it happy and make it positive. Look at me being Mr. Joyful all of a sudden. So I've got progress on 3 different things to show you this time, and I'm going to show you in order of least amount of progress to most amount of progress, starting with Modern Folk Embroidery 2022 Stitch Along. Let's take a look and see where I was last time. I still have no song for this one. And here's what it looks like this time. Not a spectacular amount of progress, but progress nonetheless. And I can't be anything but happy with that. Something is better than nothing. So I did this, I guess I did that too. I was going to say I only did this little angel, but I did this too. I started this little bird little thing here. This is just a tiny thing too. I don't know why I stopped. I was doing this last night and I stopped and I didn't go back to it, and I'm really not sure why. But whatever. This is what I've done for the February section. I know we're getting near the end of February now, and March is going to be released soon. So we got to pick up the pace if we don't want to fall too far behind. I'm not that worried about it. Even if we do fall behind, I'm not that worried about catching up. And even if we don't catch up, you know what? That's because we did stuff that we wanted to do that was other than this. So whatever, you know what I mean? You know. But anyway, I don't want to make it seem like because I didn't make a spectacular amount of progress on this, that this is like, some kind of back burner type thing. I love it. It's beautiful. I really enjoy stitching it. I just, for the last couple of weeks, I had a couple of other things that I was slightly more into and were slightly higher priorities for me. So I didn't get to this until those things were done. And this is how much I got done. No funny stories, no mistakes, no thumb cuts. Just, this is how much I got done. And that's that. Maybe next time there will be more. Speaking of thumb cuts, I think it was my last video that I had that cut on my thumb that my needle kept going into, was preventing me from stitching quickly. I should have made it a little bit more clear, because I got a lot of messages and a lot of comments from people about Band-Aids, and like people were so confused that, don't they have Band-Aids in Canada? Are Band-Aids not a thing? People explaining to me what a Band-Aid is. These weirdo Canadians up here who are just walking around with open, gaping wounds all the time. There's a thing called Band-Aids that you can put on stuff like that. Yes, we do have Band-Aids up here. And I should have made clear that I did have a Band-Aid on it, but it was just in such an awkward spot that in order to get it comfortably on where it was actually covering the cut, the Band-Aid was so sticky and bulky that it actually made it way more annoying to stitch with the Band-Aid on than to just try to deal with the cut itself. The Band-Aid was more annoying. So yeah, I do know what Band-Aids are, and I did try to use one, but it just didn't work that well. Plus, I was whining and complaining about it, but within like a day or two, it was fine, and it's all gone now. So back to normal. See? Next up on the progress report, Chessy. Let's take a look and see what Chessy looked like last time.
This is what Chessy looked like last time you saw it. Darcy probably regrets asking me to do this.
And here's what Chessy looks like this time. I did something awesome with Chessy. Look what I did. I finished the entire page, which means the first 5 pages are all finished. Look, you can't even see me. 5 pages. Finished. Doesn't he look awesome? Doesn't he? Meow, 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 meow. I get so excited every time I get to a spot where I can take this out of the Q snap, because it reminds me when I can see it all undone like this. Reminds, not that I need reminding of how much I love Chessy, but like to see it like this is, extra love. This is going to be so awesome. This is getting me all jazzed up to keep going. And I'm glad that I'm doing this now and that I'm redoing it now, redoing this video now, because I want to get this back in the Q snap and keep working on it. I finished this last week, and my desire to not put it in and out of a Q snap, I haven't worked on him since I finished that page because I wanted to be able to hold it up like this in my video. So now that I've done it, now I can put him back in the Q snap and keep going. Look, the back was completely, it was still a little dirty, but the back was filthy. I didn't realize how filthy, maybe from rubbing up against my belly or something when I'm stitching. I don't know, but the back was filthy. And he was all wrinkly. He's still a little bit wrinkly, but I washed him and I ironed him, and he's not even all done yet, but I'm I'm trying to take good care of him and make him look all pretty, and look at him. Isn't he beautiful? Aren't you excited? I'm excited. Speaking of Chessy, this is a bit of a tangent, but I wanted to say a humongous thank you to all the people. And it wasn't just a couple of people. It was a lot of people who messaged me, because Heaven and Earth released a few new Alice in Wonderland related charts. And so many people saw those and thought of me and wanted to make sure that I saw them and knew that they were there. And And they are spectacular. I love them. But like what I loved even more was that people like know me well enough or like can see stuff like that and would like they would think of me, not only think of me, but like then contact me and like make sure to like here's something that you might like. Have you seen it? I don't know. Stuff like that gets me right in the whatever part here has feeling. This part right here, I don't know. I really appreciate stuff like that. Thank you. All right, quick booger check. How am I doing? See anything? Got anything in there? Look, it's a little red because I'm like so obsessively just like, Is anything there? See anything? All right, last but not least, spirits of the dead. Let's take a throat bubble. Spirits of the dead. Let's take a look and see where I was last time.
Be silent in that solitude, which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still.
And here's also what I said last time. Here's what I said I was going to do. Take a look. So I am not going to say that I'm going to be finished this in the next 2 weeks, but I am going to say that I'm going to be finished this in the next 2 weeks. So did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? Do we need to do another slow motion thing with the fancy Jacob version of my theme song? I think we do.
You're a stitch man. You're a stitch man. Baby, you're a stitch man. Baby, you're a stitch man. You're a stitch man.
Here it is, all done. Just like I said it would be. Now I know that it's been 3 weeks instead of 2 since my last video. So it might seem like I cheated a little bit when I said that I was going to be done by my next video. I gave myself an extra week, but I didn't really, because I have stitched almost nothing this week. Just a little bit on the stitch along. So this and Chessy were both done last week. If I would have made my video last week instead of this week, I'd be showing you pretty much the exact same things. So I did actually do it when I said I was going to do it. You can check Instagram if you don't believe me. Check it. not that that matters. But this was an absolute. I can't get a good here. Is that any better? No, probably not. But this was an absolute joy to stitch. Just an absolute joy. It was so much fun. I enjoyed every stitch, and it went really quickly, and it's gorgeous. I love it. I love everything about it. Let's just take a second and just look at it. Just look at that. That's awesome. Awesome. And the great thing about it is every single stitch is in the exact right place, exactly as Jacob charted it. Not a single miscounted stitch anywhere to be found. Right? So here's what I did. And when it's not a big deal. Even when I tell you what I did and even when I show you, you're not even going to notice it. But when I noticed it, I thought that my life was over. That's a little dramatic, but I thought there's going to be a lot of frogging, or I'm going to restart the whole thing, or like my heart sank. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So I started the last time I showed this to the last time I showed this to you, I had this whole top section done. And the next thing I did was the letters. So I started right here at the beginning with the B. And right here, get my trusty pointer here. In between here, thusly, that's supposed to be a 7-stitch gap. So, you know, I know how to count to 7. At least I thought I did. So I counted the 7 stitches, and I started my letters, and I did the whole thing start to finish. And then as I continued on, I realized that it was 7 stitches from this line, but I hadn't stitched that line yet. So I was supposed to count 7 stitches from here, but I counted 7 stitches from here. So that's this whole thing is actually 2 stitches higher than it's supposed to be. Now, I know in a thing like this, that makes absolutely no difference at all. And to make it even less difference, because there were 7 stitches here and at the bottom, I did the same thing. I evened it out at the bottom. So it's 2 stitches less here and 2 stitches less here. So it's a little bit more narrow than it's supposed to be. Indistinguishable to the naked eye, but I'm sure quite distinguishable to the Jacob eye. I'm sorry, Jacob, I messed up your pattern. That was the exact same mistake that I made in the big section that I had to frog when I was doing Fruits of Plenty. It was the exact same kind of thing, where it was a double line thing and I counted from the wrong line. Except in Fruits of Plenty, I couldn't fudge it because it was so intricate and so symmetrical that I couldn't just like deal with it the way that I dealt with this one. So like a thing like that is not necessarily that big of a deal, and like you don't notice it. You can't notice it at all. Honestly, I don't even think Jacob would notice it if I hadn't said anything. The big deal is that things like that I never used to do before. Never, ever, ever did I ever do anything like that before. And things like that have been happening a lot more frequently than I am comfortable with this and with Fruits of Plenty, and even with Chessy recently. I was doing a 10 by 10 block and I was stitching 11 stitches down instead of 10. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? There's 10, not 11. I'm stitching 11. Where'd the other row come from? It doesn't exist. Why am I stitching it? Like, just little things like that. Like last time when I made my video last time, I don't know if anybody noticed this. Nobody pointed it out to me, but there was a whole 3-minute section in the middle there where my video was mirrored. And like, take a look at this. What is this? What is this? Some kind of alternate universe? Like backwards, Darcy? Like, how in the world could I have watched that and edited that and not notice that? I put it out to the world like that without noticing. I'm just getting careless. I'm getting careless, or I'm getting like sloppy, or I'm getting to be, I turned 40 this year. That might have something to do with it. That like, all these sloppy little mistakes and these tiny little errors and these like mirroring of videos, and I've got a booger hanging out of my nose and I sit here for 2 hours without noticing it. What am I doing? Like, what's happening to me? Is this it for me? Do I have a few months left and then I turn 40 and it's all over? Is this it? Is this all there is? Should I just pack it in and give up? Am I done?
That's funny. I'm falling apart here.
Everybody's talking at me. I can't hear a word they're saying. Okay, so now I have a new Stitchy friend named Suki, the brown-eyed stitcher. And I was watching her most recent Flosstube, and at one point in that video, she was talking about Stitchy friends and making new Stitchy friends and keeping Stitchy friends and all this kind of stuff. And she asked the question, what do you talk about with your Stitchy friends? And so I immediately my ears perked up, and I immediately messaged her and I said, can I pretend that you asked that specifically of me, and I'll try to answer it in my next video? And I got a big thumbs up. So that's what we're going to do. Ask me. Stitchy Friends Edition. I don't know how good of a thing this is going to be, or if this is even a question that I can answer, because I actually kind of have the same question, and I wanted to ask it of all of you. What do you talk about with your Stitchy friends? Because I would love to know. I mean, like, let's not pretend that I don't have some awesome Stitchy friends, and a whole lot of them, because I do. But I'm not as great as you might think at, maintaining friendships, or like, maybe not maintaining friendships, but keeping a conversation going. I'm not good at it. And if the other person that I'm also talking with is not good at it, then the conversation kind of just dies. And I don't always want it to, but it's hard for me to, like, I don't know how to keep it going. How do you keep a conversation going? What do you talk about? Do you have a group of friends, a group of Stitchy friends that like you message and you talk with and you Zoom with and stuff like that? I do all those things. I've done all those things. But it's hard for me to be the one to initiate and keep it going. What do you do? What do you talk about? Let's start a discussion. I have some friends, maybe everybody is like this, but I have some friends who I talk to every single day, like pretty much every day. Some a little bit less than that, and some like rarely. But like I consider them all, just because I talk to these people more than these people doesn't mean that I wouldn't love to talk to these people more, or that maybe I would love to talk to these people less. I'm just kidding. Everybody that is my friend is my friend. You're all, I don't have rankings of friends. But I interact differently with some people than I do with other people, and I really don't know why. Like, some people I only talk about stitching stuff with, and frequently. Stitching. Other people I almost never talk about stitching stuff with. And some people I talk about anything at all with. Any topic, any random thought or joke that comes to my mind. And usually that kind of stuff gets dumped on Emma from Emma X Stitching. She's usually the lucky recipient of all the random Stitchman thoughts. And when I'm stitching in the evenings, when I'm done stitching and I'm ready to go to bed for the night, my routine generally is to take a picture of whatever I was working on and send that to Emma. And I'm not sure why I think that's a thing, because I feel like if I did that with some other people, that I would be annoying the shit out of them. And maybe I'm annoying the shit out of Emma too when I do that, but for some reason, that just seems like more of a thing. Some people are my stitchy friends, and we talk about stitchy things, and pretty much exclusively we talk about stitchy things, and which is fantastic. It's great to have stitchy friends who talk about stitchy things. So I've got some of those people too, where it's just like, what are you stitching? What are you doing? What do you got planned? What do you got in your stash? What do you got? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And like, what are you using for this? And it's fantastic. I love it. Other people I almost never do that with. like Jacob and I mostly talk about movies or immature 12-year-old type humor. It's actually quite rare that Jacob and I have a talk about stitching or what are you working on. Here's my thing. Sometimes if I'm working on a thing of his, sometimes I'll send him a picture of it. Not always, but sometimes. But there's not a whole lot of that. Also with Jacob, a lot of people, especially at first, were quite sort of like confused that Jacob and I were friends, because we seem so different the way we are in our videos. But not to pull the curtain back on the Jacob mystique or anything like that, or to say things I'm not supposed to say. But I in real life, I'm a little bit less than I sometimes come across in these videos, and Jacob is a whole lot more. So we actually kind of even out to like the same level here. We have the same sense of humor. We find the same things funny. We like the same movies, and those are a lot of the things that we talk about. We get along well. On the flip side of that, there's another person who, like, the way people are and the way we are together in our videos. Betsy can actually be quite serious, which is also sometimes greatly appreciated, because if you were to ask me, is there anybody that you've ever gone to when you're like, I'm not going to get into specifics, or like, I'm going to lose all of my stitchy friends here if you talk about why are you telling people all of the things that we're talking about and all this nobody's going to talk to me anymore. but there have been times where I've had real life, not silly things come up, or like that I wanted to talk about, and like, if you were to ask me, is there a person who's the person you feel like you can go to when you need somebody to go to? And for me, that's Betsy. Betsy's like really good for that, and there have been times where I've really appreciated that. We don't always talk about poop. Sometimes she's there for real things in real life as a real person, not just a poop person. And I love her for that. Thank you. Also, in case this is unclear, you don't have to be a FLOSSTUBER to be my friend. I've got a lot of friends that I talk to quite frequently who are not FLOSSTUBERs. I love everybody. I love talking to whoever wants to talk to me. I'm just not good at initiating it and keeping it going. I've been trying to get a little bit better at that, honestly. I've been trying to be the one that like reaches out to people or like starts a conversation. I'm still not that comfortable with it, but I'm trying to be, and I'm trying to get better at it. But like, you know, you don't have to be afraid to send me messages, or you know, if we've had conversations that have petered out and it's been a while since we've talked, you start that back up again and we'll pick right back up where we left off. It's not weird or anything. I didn't stop talking to you because I don't like you or like anything like that, as I'm sure you didn't with me either. We're just all a whole bunch of awkward people who don't know how to interact with each other. There are a couple of people too who I feel like I should or could be a little bit closer Stitchy friends with. But like there's a few people that I watched and loved long before I started making videos, and I kind of have them up on a pedestal that is like I can't shake. Kyle is one of those people, obviously. I'm talking about Kyle. That like Kyle and I should be best buddies. And we are friends. I'm not gonna like let you know, pretend that we talked and like we're friends. Kyle and I are friends. Everybody chill. but maybe not like to the bromancy degree that you might think, you know, hearing especially some of my earlier videos where it was all about Kyle, and the reason I love FLOSSTUBE is Kyle, and the only person I watched is Kyle, and Kyle is the best, and Kyle is blah, blah, Kyle. You would think that like my number one goal in life would be to be best friends with Kyle. And if that hasn't happened yet, I feel like that's because of me, and because I still, even though I have talked to him, I feel still kind of intimidated by him because he's just so, he's you know, he's up here on a pedestal, or you know, like I know he's not Jack Nicholson or somebody like that, or like whoever you admire that you would relate to. You're probably like, what is it with Jack Nicholson? Why are you always talking about Jack Nicholson? I like Jack Nicholson, all right? I like Jack Nicholson. So I know Kyle is not Jack Nicholson, but I have that same sort of starstruck feeling even when I am talking to him, that like it's hard for me to get over. We got your Kyle and we got your Jack Nicholson, and you got me sitting here in the middle, and who the hell am I? Michelle Bendy is another person who I watched and loved long ago when I first discovered FLOSSTUBE. And another side note, she's entirely delightful. I have talked to her a couple of times, and she's like the nicest, most down-to-earth, like nicest person you could imagine. But again, I've got her up on this like queen-like pedestal that makes it difficult for me to feel comfortable reaching out or talking. Like when I was putting together my 1-year FLOSSTUBE anniversary video, and you know, all the people that I had helping me out and sending me these funny clips and stuff like that to make that awesome. Some people asked me, "Are you going to try to get Michelle Bendy to do something?" and I wanted to. I did want to. But I just couldn't work up the nerve to ask her because she's the queen. And what am I going to crawl up to the palace doors and be like, "Your Majesty, can you make me a silly video?" Like I just felt like I just couldn't do it. I was too intimidated. And I know you might be thinking like, you're talking about palaces and royalty and stuff like that. Like, should you not have had that same feeling about talking to Jacob? Like, why are you comfortable talking to Jacob if you're not comfortable talking to some of these other people? The reason for that is because I had the fantastic luxury when I inserted myself into the Stitchy community. I had the great pleasure and luxury of being completely ignorant. And I did not know who Jacob was. And I didn't know that he was so well regarded and so revered and so successful and such a huge part of the Stitchy world. I had absolutely no idea. Had I known that, perhaps I would have been a little bit more intimidated to start sending him silly messages. Now, you could and probably should take from that it's silly to be intimidated by anybody, because people are just people. You know, we're all just people just sitting in our living rooms. We don't have to be intimidated by each other. You would think that, and yet still here we sit, and I'm still afraid of people. So what have we learned here? Did we answer any questions? Did we ask any questions? Did I get completely sidetracked from the original point about maintaining stitchy friendships, or what you talk about with your friends? I would like to know. What, you don't have to tell me like detailed conversations, but like, do you have stitchy friends that you talk to regularly? What kinds of things do you talk about? Or just in general, help a brother out. How do you keep a conversation going? Because there are lots of times where I would love to keep the conversation going, or like reach back out to some of the people who's like, some of our conversations have petered out a little bit. And like, I just like want to let people know that like, even though that has happened, I still consider you, you know, as an equal part of what the people that I consider my stitchy friends. And you're all very, very important to me. Ask me. Stitchy Friends Edition. Well, that was a doozy. That took a lot out of me. I hope I can whittle that down a little bit to something that makes sense. Maybe I'll just cut the whole thing out. I don't know. Anyway, I can see that I've got about 4 minutes left on my phone here before it runs out of storage, and I don't want to deal with that. And I feel like I'm at the end anyway. So I think we'll just end it here. So we did it. We survived round 2, refilming. The first time I've ever had to refilm an entire thing. Is my nose still good? I don't care about the redness. That just means that there's no boogers there because I keep wiping it. So we did it. I hope it worked this time. Thanks for everything again. Thanks for everything that you do. And if you like what you see, feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, buy me a coffee, buy me a beer, take me out to dinner, you know, send me free gifts, anything you want.
Give me. I need. Give me.
Okay, all right.
I'm joking, by the way. You don't have to do all those things. I am needy. Betsy always likes to call me needy. I'm not as needy as I like to pretend that I am. But anyway, thank you again for indulging me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your lovely comments. Thanks for all of your friendships, and thanks for being here as usual. And I'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks. If not 2 weeks, shouldn't be any more than 3. And until then, keep christening it up. Happy stitching. Goodbye.